Hiker Homily for the week of February 12th. That makes it Hiker Homily number 7. And welcome. Real quick for the intro, I got out this last weekend. Did some hiking. How do you like that? We were visiting family down in a little city called Atascadero, which is on the central coast of California, or close to the central coast. It's kind of in the foothills that are right by the central coast. And I'll say Central Coast one more time, because why not? It's awesome to say that. But it's a pretty cool little town on Highway 101, right by San Luis Obispo. And it's got this cool mountain right in the middle of it. And it has some hiking trails on that mountain. And the name of the mountain is Pine Mountain. So I did the Pine Mountain Loop Trail that is in Stadium Park. Very easy to find if you go to the little town of Atascadero. You can't miss the mountain. It dominates the town. It's right in the middle. And it's pretty cool because it's kind of a little country town that kind of sprawls out around this mountain. And it's kind of neat to climb it and get up on top and see it. So expect that hiker report. The trail report will be coming out pretty soon. Got some good footage of that. A lot of good stuff to see. It's a short trail, only about 2 miles. But it's one of those trails that works you for those 2 miles because you are climbing a mountain. And so the elevation of the mountain is about 1,200 feet, approximately that. And you'll see in the hike report that I couldn't remember that when I was on the actual trail. But I know it now. Right around 1,200 feet elevation. But the actual elevation change on the trail, because you don't start at sea level to get up to it, is approximately for the entire half of the trail, the 1 mile to get up on top of it, is about 800 to 900 feet, about that. And you do that all in 1 mile, so that's pretty good. That's a decent climb, and then you're going down. So that works out the old legs and the knees, and believe me, they got to work out even for the 2 miles. But really cool trail, fun to get up there, and the view is amazing from the top of this mountain. And you will see that in the hiking report. Also, shout out to Pioneer Bear Camp now that I have a couple of hikes done with it, with their hydration bladder, and this Pine Mountain hike was one of them. I will be doing a gear report on that. I will also be getting a hold of Pioneer Bear Camp directly and giving them feedback. They've asked me to give them feedback, so I will do that. So I'll give them some direct feedback about, how I like the bladder and the system. But I will also be doing a gear report for the channel on that, and spoiler alert, little spoiler, I'm not going to tell you exactly how much I liked it or didn't like it, but I will admit that on this last hike for Pine Mountain, it was very helpful, and watch the gear review to find out why, because it just, on that particular trail especially, it was good to have it. So, look for that. I also still owe, because I have all the footage, I just got to get down and edit it, but, life is life. But I have to edit the footage, and so I still owe a gear review on my Tardy 2s by Keen, my hiking shoes that I've been using now for about a year, a little over 300 miles on. So, expect those coming up. Hike report, 2 gear reviews, and all that good stuff. So, that's about it for this one. Off we go to the hiking topic of the week. So my hiking topic for the week is going to be solo hiking, and that does not mean hiking with a scoundrel from the Star Wars galaxy. No, that's not what solo hiking is. Solo hiking should be pretty self-explanatory. You're hiking solo. You're by yourself. I always kind of grew up when I started backpacking and kind of getting into hiking and stuff like that. It was kind of drummed into us because it was an environmental education camp, and they were all about safety and things like that. And they were always like, unless you can absolutely help it, you should not be out there by yourself. And there's a certain amount of truth to that. There really is. And so really the whole solo hiking thing, it kind of becomes a personal choice, but it's one that you have to mull over, because there really is something to that. Number one, just having company on the trail, someone to talk to, is usually good. If it's somebody you get along well with and you're friends with and things like that. My wife and I put in a lot of trail time together when we were younger. I have several other friends that I put a lot of trail time in with. And it's good because you got someone there, you guys can talk. That helps pass the time you're on the trail. You don't have your mind on just, you know, the road in front of you and one step after the other, and things don't get as monotonous because you got your mind on other things. You're talking and laughing and having a conversation and another set of eyes, so you can see, oh, look, did you see that? That's really cool. And you might have missed that if he wasn't there to spot that or she wasn't there to spot it. And, oh, I spotted this over here and they didn't see that. Look at this deer over here. And, you know, it's kind of neat. So having someone there is good. There's also a safety aspect to it. If one of you gets hurt, that means there is someone else there to, number one, do first aid. Number two, help you get out of wherever you're in if you're hurt. And if they can't, there's somebody there who can at least go for help. And so there's that safety aspect of it too. Now I've heard tell, and I'm going to admit 100% that I have yet to be on one of the big long trails for a long through hike. Okay, but I've heard tell, looking at other fellow YouTubers who have had that awesome experience and things like that, that on a lot of the big through hikes, even if you start out alone, on many of those trails, you usually run into people enough of the time that you're technically not really alone. And I saw that in action many times watching several different YouTubers where, you know, they're hiking at their own pace and kind of doing their thing, but by the time they get to the place to stop for the night, there's 2 or 3 others in that vicinity. Or they happen to be going the same pace as this other person over here, and so they kind of join and walk down the trail together, talking and get to know each other and things like that. And they may not stay together. And maybe the next day the person wants to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and this person wants to get up at 7, and so they do their thing and off they go. But there are a lot of chances there where you do have some comrades. I hear on the Appalachian Trail that's a huge thing, that you may be walking sections alone, but by the time you get to a shelter at the end of the day, or the usual stop spot at the end of the day, there's usually plenty of people around for camaraderie and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of cool. That's what I hear. So really, it is. It's a safety thing. I get that. However, sometimes out of necessity, just it is. Most of my day hikes, I am a solo hiker. The hike I just took on Pine Mountain, I was by myself. Now, I met a really cool person who was walking his dog on this trail. Got to meet their dog, really cool. I'm a dog lover. I like dogs. Got to meet their dog. Awesome dog named River. He was a nice guy who happened to know all about the Sierra Mountain area that I grew up backpacking in and things like that. He has himself a cabin near Donner Lake. And so that's right around that same area that I've backpacked all over. So we got to do a little talking there. He knew about the town I lived in, and he had just moved down to that area, Atascadero, and I've kind of been going down there for years because that's where my wife came from. And so I was able to tell him a few things. It was kind of neat meeting that guy. But I was still solo hiking. But on most day hike trails, there's usually enough people around that if something were to happen, there's usually help. And if it's a day hiking trail, most of the time that means you're not in the deep outback and help can be summoned. Things like that. Now, solo hiking into the deep Sierras, I've done that a few times, not many times. Most of the times that I went up into the actual mountains, into the wilderness, what they call the backcountry, I usually was with a small group. And so there was a group of us. There have been a few times I just wanted to get away and I went out there and I was alone. And it's definitely a different feeling. You definitely feel the isolation a little bit more. And it does kind of, it's in the back of you, at least in the back of my mind, was always there. If something happens, you are absolutely by yourself. The chance of somebody else coming along in a decent amount of time is very little. And so that's always in the back of your head. And so you have to be careful about that kind of thing. It just makes you more cautious when you're on the trail. And that's really all I can do. I can't tell people never hike solo. I'd be a hypocrite for one thing because I hike solo quite often as far as day hikes go. And I'll never tell people don't backpack solo, don't do it. You're going to do what you're going to do. Just bear in mind that you just have to take that extra preparedness. Be more mindful of where you're at. Be extra careful because you are by yourself. Because there's nothing inherently wrong with hiking solo at all. It's just you have to be mindful that there's, the reason why they tell you, like I said, to not hike solo, it's a safety thing. So be more mindful of that. Be careful. And just understand that when you're alone, things are a little more dangerous. Don't take as many chances just because you're by yourself. Be more careful. And that's really the thing for solo hiking. It really is. Some people do it on purpose. They want to get out in a way, and they've got issues. And when I was younger, I understand that. Like I said, there was a couple of times where my friends just were not available, but I could not handle just staying in. Some family stuff going on. I'm getting out of here. I'm getting out of this. This is all drama, and it has to do with somebody else in the family, but it's all sweeping people up. I don't want to be a part of it. I'm out of here. Off I go, and I would take off and solo it for a couple of days. So that's how it goes. And there's people out there who they seek out that solitude, and I got to say, there's something to it. That the solitude is neat to just be out there on your own. Like I say, it weighs on the back of your mind. If anything happens, you're totally on your own. But at the same time, a lot of people who do the backpacking, that's a thrill. If anything happens, I'm on my own. That's kind of a thrill-seeking thing. You know what I mean? And it was for me too, especially when I was younger. So solo hiking, and that's kind of the thing. Is right now I'm looking at doing, if not the entire Pacific Crest Trail, a huge chunk of it at a time. I mean, a huge chunk as in I will do 2 months or so. I'll be out there for 2 months, resupplying and backpacking and stuff like that. And there's nobody else right now that I know of that hikes and backpacks that can do that. That can just take 2 months off of life and go do it. And so if I'm going to go do it, while I still can physically and I'm able, I'm going to be doing it alone. Like I said, on big trails like that, usually you're going to run into people. And I look forward to that. I love meeting people. I love talking to people. That's part of the thing. Most fellow hikers are really good, down-to-earth people, and they're cool to meet. It's awesome, You always have that little caveat in there is, be careful, trust but verify, all that kind of good stuff. You never know. So there's some people out there that are, the hiking world has a few. But for the most part, the folks you're going to meet on the trail are pretty darn cool, and it's kind of neat. And so you're not really alone. You're hiking solo, doing your thing, but there's other folks out there too, and that's what's cool about it. So, but that's kind of what it is. It's usually a personal choice. Sometimes it's out of necessity, like I say for me. I don't have a lot of others right now that are friends with me that are also into hiking, who can just take large spans of time off and just go whenever. I'm lucky in some ways that I had a certain career that allowed me to retire at 50 years old. Most other people, my wife included, are going to be working into their 60s, and unless I hit the lottery, which I'd love to do, I can't get her out of that. I would love to, and get her out there more doing things. And I have other friends too I know would probably prefer to just kind of hang out and do some hiking and things, but they're stuck working. So I'm fortunate, I'm thankful for that, but that also means a lot of the times that I'm out there on my own. And that's just how it is. You just have to take the right precautions, be prepared. I've said that how many times now in different hiker checkups and homilies and videos. Be prepared, be ready for things, be careful, be smart, and hiking solo can be done. And that's about it for the hiker topic of the week. Hiking solo, you can do it. Don't be afraid of it. There's a lot of folks out there who will try to tell you, don't do that. No, don't go out alone because, and they're not paranoid. That's not wrong. Like I said before, there are dangers. You do have to be mindful of that. And you are taking a risk. There's a bit of a thrill risk there that when you're alone, like I said, that just makes a dangerous situation more dangerous because help is further away if they're at all. And so just be aware of that for lone hiking. But if you got to do it, you got to do it. Don't let the fact that you don't have someone else to hike with keep you from doing it. If you really want to hike, you're really gung-ho for it, you want to do it, don't let the fact that you may have to do it by yourself stop you from getting on the trail. Don't let that be the thing that stops you. All right? All right. Hey, you know what? That's Hiker Homily. This is one of the shorter ones. First time I think we'll come in, maybe we'll come in under 20 minutes. I don't know. I just might ramble on like this right now. And I'm going to push it to 20 minutes. All right, I'm just kidding. That's basically Hiker Homily number 7 for the week of February 12th. If you have any comments about anything I've said in this Hiker Homily or past ones or any of those past videos, you want to put some comments down, and I have been getting some feedback. I'm going to be doing either a totally separate feedback video, or I will work it into one of the hiker homilies, maybe the next one. But I have gotten some, and those of you who have made some comments on the YouTube channel and on Instagram, thank you so much. I'll be giving you a shout out probably soon in a video or two just to say thank you for the messages. But if you have any comments on solo hiking, any comments on any other topics I've covered in the other 6 hiker homilies, go ahead and leave comments on this video below, those videos. I'll get notifications for that on that particular topic. Instagram, anything like that, get a hold of me. You can also get a hold of me at hikingforhealthca@gmail.com. You can email me there and I'll get the notification. Any kind of comments are appreciated. And that's about it. Thank you so much. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Like I said last time, my subscribership is growing little by little. And my Instagram, little by little, all growing in numbers and stuff like that. And that's really cool. So, and I appreciate that. All of you who are with me, thank you so much. From the first to the last who have subscribed, awesome. Appreciate it. And I'll see you next week.